Yo, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Tyler. Welcome to another episode of Drawn Talk, the YouTube show where we talk about indie comics and making comics and other shenanigans. Like I think the last episode I talked about different ways I fear escaping death. Guys, today we have an awesome guest on the show. We're going to be talking about his Kickstarter, and guys, you guys are going to learn a frick ton of things today, and I hope to learn a frick ton of things as well. Our guest on the show today is Clay Adams. Clay, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm ready to learn a frick ton of things.
Oh, dude, no, you're the teacher. I'm the student.
Oh, I am. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm ready to teach a frick ton of things, man.
Awesome. Real quick, everyone, just some house cleaning business for the Demons Volume 1 Kickstarter. Everyone, check this out. Boom, we got the graphic novel. It just came in the mail yesterday, and I'll be mailing those next week. I'm also working on everyone's commissions right now, and then those will be mailed next week as well. And then tomorrow we are doing our creator hangout at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you are an artist, we're drawing the crow. Hop on the live stream, and that's what we're going to be drawing. And then after that, actually, on my friend Pencil for Life show, I'm doing an art contest. Feel free to come on that show and vote for my art because you know you love me. So yeah, that's some house cleaning business. But yeah, we're gonna have an awesome episode today. We're gonna have an episode tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have, and then there's gonna be another episode on Friday. But this show today is not about me. It is about Clay. Clay, tell us about Red Xmas, a horror comedy Christmas comic for adults. The link is down in the description. Check it out. But Clay, tell us about it.
All right. Yeah. So the idea for the story is that Santa goes a little nuts when Mrs. Claus dies in a tragic toy accident. Santa kind of loses his shit, and it's up to Ellie Tewksbury, an FBI agent, to bring him down. Now, Ellie doesn't believe in Santa until she crosses paths with him on this crazy night, and her son Byron runs away to find his dad, who's a wannabe elf who ran off to the North Pole to join Santa many years ago. And so Ellie is looking for her son and crossing paths with Santa. And in this issue, she hooks up with the Easter Bunny. They join forces to take down Santa, and hilarity ensues.
My favorite part of when I was checking your Kickstarter out, dude, was the video where it was like everyone knows the story of Santa Claus, and oh, it was hilarious. Everyone, that like video alone, you should like just tip $1 because it was so hilarious, and it just really felt like it encompassed, you know, how crazy this story is.
Thanks,
and
man.
this is issue 3, correct?
Yeah, this is our 3rd issue. So we did one issue back in 2014, and then we went on a little hiatus, and we came back last year, stronger than ever with Fabio Romacci on art, and yeah, you can see that's Fabio's stuff here that you're scrolling through. And Fabio drew our 2nd issue, colored by Emilio Poliu. Those are both Italian artists, and they're awesome. And just a great bunch of guys, and they both came back for this 3rd issue, and yeah, that cover there is drawn by Fabio and colored by Finn Cram, who does White Ash.
Okay.
So yeah, we're stoked. That's that cover there. That's like giving George Perez a run for his money, just in terms of like details. I mean, Fabio crammed that with so many details. It's awesome.
And then this is your comic company. It's Fried Comics.
Fried Comics. That's us. FriedComics.com.
I love the lady. Where'd you get the inspiration for this lady?
So that's Frida. That's our waitress character. So Fried Comics, we're all about juicy, crispy, fatty storytelling. Our comics are kind of like greasy diner food that they're probably not good for you, but they taste good. They go down smooth, maybe with a milkshake, and so we decided that we were going to have our mascot be Frida, who is she's a waitress. She's sort of our Elvira-like hostess, but Elvira, if she had fewer teeth and maybe a meth problem.
I think that's a clever idea though, to like not just like base your comic book company on like a concept and have like this like it's like an experience. It feels like an experience, and you when you're getting your comic, it's like it's being delivered to you by Frida, and I can just imagine her like, "Here's your comic."
You should do her voice. That's very good. Yeah, we need to. We're doing a Frida backup story. We did one last year, and it went over well. We're doing another one, and I would love to make these animated. So anyway, I'm gonna come back to you. You're gonna audition for the voice of Frida.
Dude,
yeah, man.
Guys, this is Draw and Talk was all just a ploy. I'm really trying to get into the voice acting game.
You got the jump, man.
Everyone who's watching, please check that out. The description for the Kickstarter link is in the description down below. Really quick, want to get in the chat. Justin, Ori, what up, dude? Let's try to draw tomorrow. Let's try to draw tomorrow if we can in the morning. It won't be streamed, just be you and I hanging out. Guys, I love drawing with Justin. We have a good time. Christopher C saying, "Yeehaw! I caught the pitch." Yes. Christopher watches the show. He's freaking awesome, and he has funny comments. And Christopher, I hope that you unleash tonight for Clay, and even check out the Kickstarter as well, because it might be up your alley.
Yeah, bring it, Christopher.
And anyone else who is watching, let us know who you are in the chat. Say hi. I think it's awesome that I like to see who's watching. Christopher C says meth head Elvira is hot like the daytime hooker from My Name Is Earl. Oh my.
Nice. I like it.
Okay, so Clay, I guess guys, Clay has if you looked at the Kickstarter, this is a really short how quick, how many days is your campaign?
Yeah, so I'm a glutton for punishment. So I let Tyler James talk me into doing a 12-day campaign. He suggested 12 days of Red Xmas. It sells itself. And I thought, I think you're right. I like that. I'll go with the 12-day campaign. And then I panicked for about a good month while I built the page. But we're off to a great start. So I'm feeling good. We've been running for just over 48 hours, and we're knocking on the door of 3,000. So guys, I'm happy.
So guys, clearly Clay has some experience with Kickstarter. Being able to get 116 backers already. There's still 9 days to go. It's a super, super, super short campaign. Yeah. He's done this before, so I hope that you guys learn some stuff. I'm going to be learning some stuff. But Christopher, what is your biggest advice on? Well, first off, how does this compare to your first Kickstarter? You said this is your fifth.
Yeah.
How does this compare to your first one? What is the biggest thing that you've learned from the first one to like now?
Okay, so
obviously grown from there.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first campaign that we ever did was actually for the first Red Xmas campaign, the very first issue. And we did not have the audience for the ask we were going for. So that was a big learning experience.
Did you fail?
We did not fail because I was determined not to fail. So I'll tell you what happened. A couple of things happened. I'm going to give you a long-winded answer, and I apologize for that. But hopefully you learned something.
No, hopefully everyone pay attention.
A frick ton of things. So we launched Fried Comics back in like 2013, and our brilliant idea was that we were gonna post everything for free to the web, and we were gonna sell like dollar PDFs, and we were gonna become billionaires. That was gonna be our thing. By the way, I'm wearing a Santa hat. I'm being very thematic. I don't know if you can tell my headphones are killing it here, but I don't just have like white hair. So anyway. We launched Fried Comics in 2013, and we had a series called Forgive My Language, Pregnant Bitches of War, and another called Dead Skins. And PBOW, I'll refer to it as that from here on out. PBOW did very well for us. It was kind of like a I guess you could say a cult hit. People were very interested. It did okay. It did okay on Comixology, but if we had been smart, we would have kickstarted PBOW, because we had been building that audience, and we had been showing them that book for free, and then selling some digital copies. So it would have been really smart for us to then put it into print and go to Kickstarter. We were not really smart. Instead, we had said we were going to come out with Red Xmas. We wanted to say we were a publishing company and we were going to come out with all these different books. So we were like, no, we said we were going to come out with this book. We got to come out with this book. And so that was one mistake, that we made a promise to people that, like, you know, we thought people would care if we didn't keep it. And I think instead they probably just wanted a print copy of PBOW. So we launched Red Xmas with nobody being prepared for it. We just launched. There was no
like, hey guys, there's this comic now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it didn't exist, and now suddenly, hey, we're making this thing. And so that's like the pre-launch phase. That's so super important. Like, we never would have been able to pull off this 12-day campaign. Knock on wood, it's still early. I guess anything can happen, but I'm confident that it's going to work. We wouldn't have been able to do it if we had just launched cold. We've been building the audience, and I can talk about the ways that we've done that in a second. But we've also built a track record, because this is the 5th campaign. People who have backed our books in the past, they know what they're expecting. They know what they're going to get. You mentioned the idea of creating an experience. You said that earlier, and that's exactly what we're going for. Because in my mind, like with Kickstarter, you're paying premium prices for these comics, right? It's not like you're walking into a comic book shop and paying $4 from something from DC and Marvel. So you have to give the customer something other than just a book. You have to give them an experience. And so we really do try to craft that experience for people. And I think we've done a really good job of doing that, in that people know what they're going to get. They know it's going to be quality. They know the book is going to be good. They know it's going to be packaged well. And they know they're going to feel like they're a part of a community. And so we're giving people something bigger than just a book, if that makes sense.
No, like, I had on this girl, Melissa Capriccione. She has like this Italian mobster last name. But you know,
she should work on the book with the other Italians.
But she, you know, we were talking the other day about her Kickstarter. I think it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. And, you know, we were talking about how creating a community is, you know, the real big thing to create a following. You know, with my book, everyone check it out real quick. Demons.
It looks sweet, man.
Dude, I'm pumped. But you know, I've had this book done for 2 years. And then some crap happened. But you know, and I had to regrow my audience base. And so we were talking about growing a following and growing a community. And that's how you really build a comic these days, is by growing a community. And so, you know, for the like Draw and Talk, I hope that this is a community. You know, on Thursdays we have, you know, 10 to 15 people drawing with us all together in the live stream and chatting. And then, you know, hopefully I'm like, hey guys, and everything for free is for free on this channel, and try to, you know, promote artists, promote writers, and promote their comic books. And then, you know, with that experience, people are like, oh, well, you know, when Tyler releases a book, you know, I'll check it out, because it's like this sense of community.
Yeah, you're building trust.
Exactly. They should know, you know, they know what they're getting. And, you know, with a YouTube show, I can be like, guys, I effed up, I messed up. And they're like, oh, you know, he's honest, or, you know, so yeah, I really agree. You know, when you're getting your Red Xmas, guys, imagine Frida being like, here you go. And then, you know, you read the book, and then once you close it, she's like, did you like it? You know, and you know, you should know you've clearly built a rep of what people are expecting. You know, after 5 Kickstarters, you know, these 166 people have already backed. They're like, I know what I'm getting myself into. I trust you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that building that trust is so important. And the thing to keep in mind, like if you're a brand new Kickstarter creator and you haven't done this a whole lot, like when you're starting your first campaign, you probably won't have that trust. even there are things that you can and that you should do building up to that first campaign, but like until you've proven that you can deliver the book finished, and deliver it relatively on time and deliver it packaged well, you don't have that same level of trust. So really, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is try not to break that trust that people are giving you by giving your money. Like, I've backed some Kickstarters that the people have just gone radio silent, and the books never came out. And the sense that I get from people posting on the pages, like the angry comments that people have saying, where's my book? The sense that I get from people is that, like, they'd be fine if somebody came on and just said, hey, you know what, guys, just like you said, like I screwed up, or the vendor screwed up, the books didn't arrive, and I messed this thing up, and I had to resize everything and reformat everything so that the book looks good, and it's going to take more time. Like, people appreciate that, and communication is really an important part of trust building. It's when people go radio silent that kind of breaks that trust.
Yeah, I was scared because I hadn't heard from the printer in like 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, great, this is my first Kickstarter. I'm trying to rebuild a fan. Trying to rebuild an audience. And I was so scared to break it. I'm so scared to break that trust. And even, I'm an artist and I'm working on like a book for a client right now. And I told him, like, hey, dude, I can't work on your book this week. I've got to get my rewards and my backer, rewards to my people. Yeah. Because this is really important. If I don't get it to them on time, like I've messed up, and I don't want to be that guy. And so yeah, exactly. Really quick, got a question for you in the chat.
Yeah, bring it.
It's from Christopher C. He says, why would an artist do a Kickstarter if their book is already complete?
Why would an artist do a Kickstarter if their book is already complete? So that's a great question. There's loads of reasons why you might want to do that. So you might want to complete the book ahead of time. If you haven't built up that trust with the audience, you might want to have it available for a quick turnaround. So if the book's already complete, for one, you can, as soon as you get the funds, you can send it to the printer and you can get it printed and shipped out as soon as possible. So that's a great way to build trust. That does mean that you've got to shell out to pay your artists ahead of time, and put a little bit of that skin in the game. The other reason why you might want to do it is that you can post it online, and you can start building that audience, and you can start sharing it with people. The comics are a visual medium, and so the more you have to show, the better. And so that's why, like, I've really adopted the Tyler James philosophy. And if anybody doesn't know Tyler, he runs an excellent podcast called Comics Launch. And he also has a series of courses that I'm a big fan of. And his philosophy is you need to have at least 5 colored and lettered pages done before you launch Kickstarter. Like, that's the bare minimum, because that's what you want to show to people, what the finished product is. And he's so right, because it's a visual medium, you have to have something to show. Like, I can talk about my book till I'm blue in the face, but it's not going to give you that same feeling that watching the video is. That 2-minute Kickstarter video is very visual. It is me talking about the book, but it has a lot of visuals from the comic. I also, on the page, I kind of broke down the story so far and tried to tell you, at least kind of spoiler free, catch you up a little bit on where the story is now. And then I bring you into the 5-page preview and show you where it's going. So I try to make the page as visual as possible, because it's really true. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you are just starting out and you don't have that track record, it can help you build an audience, and it can also just help you build trust.
No, for sure. And I'm someone who, like, I understand that not a lot of people can do this, but I have about 5. I'm not going to do Kickstarter again. I'm going to try Indiegogo for the next one, but I have 5 graphic novels, all over 100 pages, ready to go. And it's because I don't want to be like, hey guys, I have this idea for a 100-page graphic novel. You know, hey guys, it's going to be really cool. I just need the money. And
trust me.
Trust me. Yeah. And so, you know, I spent those 3 years making all these books, putting in my personal money into it. And so when I did that, my first Kickstarter, I was like, hey guys, it's 100% complete. You don't believe me? Here's the first 20 pages.
Right.
Read it. It's free. And if you like the first 20 pages, you know, get the graphic novel. But yeah, at least 5 pages. One big thing though, going back to trust is, if you're going to put in those 5 pages, I've backed some campaigns where the first 5 pages were amazing. And then when I got the book, it was not like those first 5 pages. And I've been pretty ticked off.
Right.
So be consistent, because I don't think I'd never back any of those people ever again. So what you're going to show with those first 5 pages, you know, you better be consistent.
Yeah. Consistency is definitely key. And that's also that, you know, and that goes a long way too to building that trust. Not only in the sense of like consistency with keeping the rest of your book looking like your 5-page preview, you also need consistency of putting things out. Like I love that you're here on YouTube. I mean, like multiple times a week doing this show. Like people know that they can find you here. They know that you're going to be here. So you're building that consistency. You're building that trust. And it's the same thing with like sending out your newsletter or posting to Webtoons or whatever you can do as an artist to just show people that you can show up consistently, because that's what a professional does. A professional is somebody who like doesn't do something just because they want to do it. It's that they do it because that's what they do, and they do it every day, whether they feel like doing it or not.
Exactly, guys. And that's with anything. 2018, 2019, the internet is all about consistency. If you're not consistent, no one's going to follow you. I mean, I didn't post a video for 3 days and I lost 20 subscribers. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Like, dang. And then my friend Sarah, she's an Instagrammer. Like she had like 28,000 followers. Her account got hacked and deleted for a week. But then she finally resolved it, got it back, and she had lost 1,000 people because they were like, "Oh, she hasn't posted in a week, so F this." Right. Consistency is key. I got another question for you in the chat.
Yeah, bring it on.
It's from my boy Justin Ori, and I too have this question. What's the best time of year to launch a campaign?
The best time of year to launch a campaign? Anytime your audience is ready to back you. That's the best time. The thing is that it's really easy to talk yourself out of launching a campaign. So you can come up with any kind of excuse, you know, to not do it. And that's one of the things like I was worried about with this campaign was, well, you know, we're getting close to Christmas, and I don't want people to feel like they're broke and not back. And then, you know, Tyler said something to me. I'm in one of his mastermind groups, and Tyler said something to me that was like, yeah, but don't you buy things around Christmas? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I do. Like, I'm shopping for other people, and I'm like, you know what? I'd like a copy of that book, you know, or I'd like to buy this for myself. I'm going to get this DVD or whatever. And you know, it really sort of broke this like stranglehold that I had on this idea of like, you can't really launch like last year. So the last year's Red Xmas book, we're planning on doing this annually. It's Christmas comes every year. So there may as well be an edition of our book. Last year I launched on Halloween, and I tried to end, you know, it was right at the beginning of December, because I was like, I can't run a Kickstarter in December. That's a terrible time to run a Kickstarter. And so many people were telling me, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. So, so I launched early, and everybody was like, why are you doing a Christmas book, dude? It's like, it's not even Thanksgiving. What's wrong with you? And I really found, I found that like, the backing really picked up after Thanksgiving. Like we got off to a pretty strong start, and then we hit that dead zone like everybody does. But then, yes, the last week is always strong, but this felt particularly strong. Like it was suddenly after Thanksgiving, and suddenly people were like, now I'm in the mood for a Christmas comic.
There's something weird about that Thanksgiving week. Like those were the 3 days where that week I just didn't post because I was like, for some reason I'm like, it's Thanksgiving week. I just don't want to be active on social media. I just don't want to be around. I like that you said that though, that whenever your backers are ready, whenever your audience, I mean, heck, there were comic books coming out the day before Thanksgiving from the publishers. There was probably, and they sold, thousands and thousands. People are wanting to buy things. And if you have the, if you have the influence, if you've built that trust, you can do that. I was on a Doug TeNaples show, the Creative Earthworm Jim, and I was, we were talking about my book, and he said, "All right, guys, go check it out." And like, I got $500 in like 5 minutes, and it's because he's built that trust with his followers that if he says something's good or do something, maybe like maybe 10% of them will do it. If you say, "Hey, I have a book coming out now," people will be like, "Well, that's Clay's book, and I know that now's the time. Let's do it." And especially the fact that you are so consistent in the fact that you have that you've built this rep, and then also you're giving the how do I say it? This effect of like, it's 12 days. You got to get on it. That sense of urgency. That's the word I was going for. It makes people go, "Oh, I can't wait till like the last week. Like, I got to get it now."
Right.
Was that key in your marketing plan? That sense of urgency?
Sure. Yes, for sure. For sure. I mean, that's what's so great about a Kickstarter campaign. Even if you do a 30-day campaign, you still know there's a finite funding window. And so people either have to get in or they're out. And I definitely thought about that in terms of the 12 days, that like, yeah, it's a shorter campaign. And so I guess there's less time for people to find us. But at the same time, I kind of feel like, the core audience is the core audience, and it's just a matter of getting them off the fence sooner. Like there's always people that have to be first, right? Those are the people that like line up to get the new iPhone when it comes out, right? And then there are the people that are like, oh, I got to get in before this is over. So they jump into a Kickstarter campaign like in the last 3 days. And I mean, the dead zone is sort of the dead zone. They call it that for a reason. Like there's not a whole lot of activity that's happening. So I just decided to experiment with cutting out the dead zone and just see if we can just be hot for 12 days. Damn it.
I'm hoping once I do, Demons Volume 2 will be in February. Then we'll do Demons Volume 3. Then the series is done. I'm hoping that the next book I can do that short campaign. So I'm hoping that those first 3 books, people are like, okay, quality, trust.
That's smart.
Yeah. That's the goal.
That's smart, because you like, I wouldn't have wanted to do this last year. I wouldn't have wanted to do this on any other campaign. And I try to run 2 campaigns a year. Right now I'm trying to spread them out about 6 months apart. So I'll do one like the last couple of years we've done one in April and then one around the holidays. And we did that again this year, and it seems to be a good schedule. That's part of that is good because as one Kickstarter is being fulfilled, I'm able to sort of slip in a little postcard that says, "Hey, by the way, we're launching this other Kickstarter really soon," and I can give a specific date on the postcard. So people get their package, they open up the package, and then they're sort of hit in the face with, oh, this new Kickstarter is starting. Well, I like this book that I have. This was a nice experience. Yeah, I will back that book.
And there's another one coming out. That's all. That's
another one coming out. So having that consistency, I think, has been key. And so now that this is the 5th campaign and people kind of know what to expect, I felt a little more confident about doing that shorter funding window. But yeah, I think your plan is great, man. Really, like, do 30-day campaigns for the next couple books, and then the one after that, like, just be like, "No, dude, 2 weeks. That's it. That's all you got."
And it's nice that they're 100%, complete, so I don't have to stress about all the art. Yeah, let me get into the chat real quick. We got Coffee here saying it's spooky in here. Then you got the other guy that's all bright, happy, and Santa. Yeah, guys, my kitchen's a little dirty, and I also like this black area just because you know it's normally half my living room, half my kitchen. Now it's a black backdrop. But when Christopher C says Tyler got big into Alex Jones over the holiday, and he is hiding Illuminati evidence and red string spider webs that run throughout his house. Yes, that's what's happening.
It makes sense now.
Yep. We got Britton here says, did you start? No, man. We always start at 7:30. That's the time the show starts. Also, you know Mr. Hill too, by the way. I have talked with him on Twitter, just like you, Britton, although I have talked with him over Skype. We got Chuck Pino saying, the thing we have to remember is that if people are on social media on a holiday, then A, they aren't trying to be surrounded by Thanksgiving stuff, and B, there's a good chance that they won't see it until after the holiday anyways. And then he says, hey, Clay, hey, Ty, hey, Chuck.
Hey, what's up, Chuck?
You know, that's so true. That's so true. So what are some things that you've done to grow your audience? Has it been mostly through social media? Have you done Facebook ads?
Yeah, I've done Facebook ads.
Do they help?
Yes. So yeah, so the main thing actually is the newsletter. I'm a big proponent of the newsletter. And how I got into doing that is, again, I'm going to drop Tyler's name because really,
but everyone, for those of you who don't know, Tyler is Tyler James, right? Tyler,
yes, yeah.
He runs Comics Launch, and if you aren't like checking out his stuff, you know, I'm on his email list, so I get all this. You know, even that free newsletter that you get has tons of important information.
Yep.
And if you don't get the 100% aspects of it, he'll at least plant a seed in your mind that goes, you know, I haven't thought about that before. So everyone, you should go check out Comics Launch. It really helps you. But yeah, keep going. And then I have some questions in the chat for you.
Yeah, for sure. So on that very first Red Xmas campaign, you asked me if it failed, and the reason why it didn't fail was that I reached about the halfway point of the campaign about 15 days in, and I was like, oh man, we are not going to make this. Like, we just do not have the audience. Because we just thought you'd throw it up on Kickstarter and everybody gives you $1 million and suddenly you're famous and it's great. And it didn't quite work out that way. So I Googled, I was like, how do I get my Kickstarter funded? And I found Tyler's blog. This was before he was doing the Comics Launch podcast. It was before he started the podcast, but he had a blog, and he had written like all of these blog posts about Kickstarter and how to get funded. And I just I read blog post after blog post after blog post, and I was like, yeah, this makes real sense. And I followed all of his advice to a T, and we overfunded. And I simply credit that with me finding his blog. So somehow through that, I got on his newsletter in the early days, and he emailed one day and was like, "Hey, I'm starting this course about how to create email newsletters for comics creators." And like he was giving it away, like it was a ridiculously low price, and I was like, I would be stupid not to sign up for this course. So I did, and it was phenomenal. And he took us through how to create. This is the list launch course, and he took us through how to create an email newsletter, and that has been so important for building that sense of community. So Frida, Tyler, who you're going to be voicing later on,
everyone.
Frida actually writes our newsletter for Fried Comics, and she does it every 2 weeks. She awesome. Sends you an email, yeah, and she's done that like every 2 weeks for like the last couple years.
That's so smart.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like,
that's adding to the experience of Fried Comics, and
it's totally free. So so you get to be a part of this community. You get and like I don't like calling it a newsletter. I call it an online letter column, because I'm old school with comics. Like for me, the letter column is so huge to the comics experience. And for you youngsters out there, before the internet, if people wanted to interact with creators, they had to actually write physical letters to the comic book company that the editor would then handpick, print, and respond to inside the book. And so when people started responding to Frida and asking her questions and or just answering things or talking back to her things that she said in the newsletter, I decided, like, yeah, this is a letter column. Like, I'm gonna respond to people, and or Frida is going to respond to people. Sorry if I ruined the magic there. Frida's going to respond to people and make people feel like they're a part of this community. And I think that has been so huge for just building that trust and building that community. And people, like, I don't know that people do what I tell them to do, but people definitely do what Frida tells them to do. So Bill,
No,
that
I'm trying to
newsletter.
get into that. I'm really trying to, trying to get into that newsletter. I'm slowly building up an email list, and then I want to start putting out that newsletter because I read it from Tyler on one of his emails, like, why don't you have a newsletter? And I was like, I don't know. And I started reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, why don't I have a newsletter?
Yeah.
Real quick, we're gonna do an ad real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
From my sponsors. No, we're not doing that. Guys, check this out real quick. Check out that. Okay, I'm gonna be sending it to you guys next week. That's the Demons book. But guys, did you guys know that currently on Kickstarter there is a book called Red Xmas, and it is currently on Kickstarter. The link is down below in the description. 9 days to go, 116 backers. Do you want to be part of Fried Comics? I think you do. Look at this art. Look how close they are to the goal. 9 days to go. This is only a 12-day campaign. Look at this awesome cover. Go check out the rewards. If anything, watch the video because the video is freaking hilarious. And if you are really interested in the book, I implore you to back it. So that is from our sponsor today. No,
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, so you guys, that's Clay's book right there on Kickstarter. Guys, please check that out. Watch the video. I swear, like, watch the video. It will. When I first put it, I hate. I'll be honest. I hate looking at other people's Kickstarters because I just have this sense of like, what do they want from me? And then, the video was just so entertaining. I showed it to some friends at work. I was like, guys, check this out. And it was hilarious. And they're like, I'll have to go check that out when I go home. I was like, do it. So
nice. That's great to hear.
Oh yeah, for sure. So let's get on the chat real quick. There were some questions.
Yeah.
From Coffee here says, here's a question. It doesn't exactly have anything to do with Kickstarter, maybe the aftermath of Kickstarter, but is December a bad time to officially release a book? Clay answered this earlier in the show, but Clay, maybe you could give like what you said in like a nutshell.
Yeah, so the best time to launch a Kickstarter is when your audience is ready, whenever that is. Like I've seen guys launch on a Sunday when you would think nobody would be around, right? The conventional wisdom is you never launch on a weekend. But I've seen people launch on Saturday. I've seen people launch on Sunday. They fund, they do well. That's when their audience is ready. There was one creator inside the Comics Launch course, Melody Pena. She's a sculptor, and she's been posting her comic book for free on the web for years. And she had built up a huge audience, and they were mostly collectors of her sculptures, but her sculptures were based on the comic, so it was all tied in together. She launched, and she was not sure when to launch, but she said, you know what, I've got a big backer. This is somebody who's bought a lot of stuff from me. Like I know that they're gonna spend a lot of money, but she's not available until Thursday. So everybody was telling her, oh, you got to launch on a Monday, you got to launch on a Tuesday, you've got to have that whole week to get funded. But she was like, you know what? I don't want to launch when my biggest dollar backer I know is not available. So she waited till Thursday at, I don't even know what time, but she hit launch, and she had a $30,000 goal, right?
Okay.
This was the most fun I've ever had watching Kickstarter that was not mine. I was refreshing this Kickstarter over and over and over. She raised $30,000 in an hour, and she wound up over six figures. I can't remember what the final tally was, but it was actually she may have even gotten more than 30. It may have been more like 60,000 in an hour. I'll have to go back and look, but she raised a ridiculous amount of money in no time at all. But it's because she had prepared her audience and she had waited till they were ready and launched when they were ready.
That's awesome. My job is social media marketing, and everyone's always like, you got to post on Instagram at this time, and you gotta like, that's perfect. Like, and it's just like, you know what? Just your audience will find it, and they will be, they will see it. You don't have to, everyone has their theories.
For sure.
Just wait till your audience is ready. Let's see, going through Britain. Do you know Brian Hill was writing American Carnage, Tyler? Yeah, I read it. I didn't like it. No, Chuck, we're not going to get a rough review of why I didn't like it. I just thought it was really over the top. I love Brian Hill as a writer, but it really did not enjoy that book. Fan letter. Coffee says fan letters. I wish those still existed.
Yeah.
Christopher C. Hey, I'm old enough to remember when a shitty text involved buying a stamp. Bloodshot t-shirt. No, it's like this dude surfing for some reason. Old Navy. When I worked there was like really big into surfing, and I bought all the surfing shirts even though I can barely swim. So and then Chuck Pino saying they still exist, Coffee, talking about fan letters. I have a letters page, and welcome to the void. Be the fan you want. So send fan letters to the books and creators that you love.
Yes.
There's a lot of one thing I do like about, I don't know why, I wish that DC and Marvel like would put back their letters pages. Granted, they probably get a lot of angry fans these days for the quality of some of those books. But what I love about like Image Comics is some of those books do have letters pages.
Yeah, and
it's such a surreal experience to see those writers like respond to the fans. But even in like you said with the newsletter, create that experience. Find a way to create that experience. I kind of think that reading the chat is like reading a fan letter because we're responding to these questions live. Yeah. That's the 2018 model of fan letters is the chat. So after you go through like this comics launch, you have a newsletter. What about other social media platforms though do you use? That's email. Do you are you killing it on Instagram and Twitter or Facebook, or like what's your?
I don't know that I'm killing it anywhere. I'm on Twitter. I do like to tweet. I'm a writer, so I feel like Twitter is a better platform for me.
It's so easy just to go tweet.
Exactly.
Tweet.
And knock it out, and it's fast, it's easy.
And everyone's okay with it. Twitter's like the only social media where you can post 10 times a day and everyone's like acceptable.
Exactly.
Facebook,
you miss it so easily, Charlie Stickney, who does White Ash, he wrote me the other day, and I can't. It may have been when we launched, and he was like, "Have you been promoting this?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, I've been promoting it." He was like, "Oh, I was asleep," and then because he's on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast, so when we launched in the morning, he was still asleep, so he woke up. He checked Twitter, but it happened to be in that window between, posting, and he didn't see it. And so that is sort of the danger of Twitter. Instagram, people have tried to get me on Instagram, and I know it's great for comics because it's visual. I can't figure out how to use it, man. I'm so like old school. I need a laptop. I feel like such an old man holding my phone and like trying to be like, how do I do this? What do I do? I use Facebook, but Facebook has gotten kind of weird, and the algorithm is kind of strange, and it's like, who sees your posts, who doesn't see your posts, But you asked about Facebook ads, like a long time ago, mm-hmm. and my brain like is just now catching up to it. So you asked about Facebook ads. I did that on Refried Comics, which was our last Kickstarter that we did earlier in the year. And that was another one where like we started out on our first day. We had our best first day ever. It was the biggest first day of one of our campaigns ever until now. Like this Red Xmas campaign blew Refried out of the water. But we had a huge first day for Refried because everybody came out as soon as Frida told them to. They were there, but once they were there, right? Like all the fans that were gonna get Refried, like got it on the first day, maybe the second day, maybe the third day. and we hit a wall, and I was like, "Oof, I can't believe like we're not moving at all." And so I decided to experiment with Facebook ads, and I'd kind of done it before, but Tyler James had some extra trainings on launching Facebook, so I looked at those trainings and I followed his advice, and as soon as I started running the ads, boom, we got unstuck. And we, I think on like $100 ad spend, I think return on investment was like $1,000, which is
That's
pretty
awesome.
good.
No, that's
I'll
great.
take that. Yeah, I'll take that. So yeah, like it's really about targeting and who you target. And I'm actually trying to get Facebook ads going for this campaign, but Facebook rejected it.
Really?
Well, yeah, they said it was rejected for profanity, which the ad had no profanity in it. But I guess maybe some of the preview images on the Kickstarter, I guess they maybe check that. They check where your ad links to.
Interesting.
So I may have to go in and like blur out a few words on the Kickstarter page, get my ad approved, and then unblur them again. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But like I don't know. I see profanity all the time on Facebook. I don't know why they.
But Facebook ads are they're so underpriced if you think about the reach that they have. I mean, and if you like do it correctly, if you specify who you want to hit, your target, I mean, like if you're like a moron, like some of the people I work with at my job, you know, they put $1,000 in the Facebook ad, they can't get like one like on a Facebook post. And when I look at like the like what they did, I'm like, guys, you said this ad goes to everyone, and I'm like, you can't do that. Like, not everyone wants to see this ad. The thing with Facebook is you could target some kid in Wyoming who likes Batman, and he's going to see it and he's going to be like, oh my gosh, like that's what I want.
Targeting is cheap. It's so cheap. It's so cheap. I think it was like 22 cents per click or something crazy like that. It was good. Yeah.
I mean, $100 and you get $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say no to that.
Like if I did that in Vegas, right? Like if I went to Vegas and I had $100 to play blackjack with, right? And I sat down at the blackjack table for a couple hours and I walked away with $1,000, I'd be super happy. You know what I mean? So I was very happy with that spend.
And that Google, and it was probably easier with the Google. You have like you don't have as much to lose with the that Vegas. Yeah, guys, if you're not using Facebook ads, I didn't use Facebook ads for this one. I was meaning to. I was just so stressed out. You know, it's my first campaign. I was just so stressed out about like what was just like I was learning Kickstarter while I was doing it. So I was like, I don't want to even think about Facebook ads during that.
Well, that's a huge point though. Like, I'm really glad that you said that, because there is such a steep learning curve to all of this stuff. Like, there's a steep learning curve to how to make a comic in the first place and make it good, right? There's a steep learning curve to running a newsletter, a steep learning curve to using social media, and then Kickstarter, and then Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever it is you're using. And so like you can't do it all at once. You have to take it in steps. So again, like you're doing it smart, man. You're not trying to bite off more than you can chew. And that, like, when we launched Fried back in 2013, we specifically didn't do Kickstarter right away because we were trying to learn everything else, how to work with an artist, you know, how to make sure the lettering's good, how, you know, what's quality coloring, what's not quality coloring. And like there was just so much that we had to process. The idea of trying to learn Kickstarter too, like that would have killed us. So so by the time we did jump in and do a Kickstarter, you know, like again, there was that big learning curve. I had to go halfway through the campaign. Like I said, I had to go Google, like, how do I get this thing funded? And I had to do a lot of reading to figure it out. So so yeah, like just baby steps, man. It's like actually, it's the Christmas special. Is it Santa Claus is coming to town, or what? What's the one you put one foot in front of the other? You know, and it's like you take one step at a time, man, and soon you're walking out the door.
And what you said, and I try to say this a bunch on the show, and anyone else who like ever asks me, Tyler, I want to make comics, or like they get discouraged because I've been making comics for 6 months, nothing's happening. You said that you guys were starting in 2013, just how to freaking make a book. And I was like, guys, like I made my first, like what I would call like indie comic in 2015. And it was so like, it was a trade. We got into a trade paperback, but if you like looked at that art, you would think a 5-year-old drew it, because I drew it. And you would be like, who did that lettering? And I was like, I did. It was bad, right? And I remember looking at that book and being like, I did it. Gosh, I don't want anyone to see this. Right. And that was kind of discouraging, but if it's all about the journey, especially with comics, it's all about the journey.
Yes, totally. You're totally right. I mean, you have to go through that experience to learn. And even if, like it wouldn't have been so bad if you did show it to somebody and you got feedback on it, because like, I get it, man. Like I'm a writer, and I wrote for years, and I just shove everything in a drawer and it never saw the light of day. But I wasn't really growing from that, like I was getting practice doing the same thing over and over again, but I wasn't improving. And you don't like, I've heard this advice so many times. I've heard like Brian Vaughan give it. I've heard Neil Gaiman give it, Alan Moore. People say, get published. That's how you get better, right? You get published. And like that, these guys were saying that back in the day, where like that was the only outlet. There wasn't the internet really to put your stuff out there. But the point is, put it in front of people, have them rip you apart. Or even if it's not people ripping you apart, but it's like, you're putting it in front of people who are going to judge, okay, do I give money for this, or do I not give money for this? Right. And if they're not giving money for it, you want to find out why. Right. And I don't know, man, just getting your stuff out there in front of people, getting eyeballs on it, you will improve so much faster than you will just not putting it out there.
For sure. I mean, you should get some. I'm very pro get a bad review. Yeah. Like, I'm very pro losing, because I remember when I put out Demons in the Floppies, and I got like the first 3 reviews were like, this is great. And I was like, yes. And then I got like 2, one of the headlines was like, can indie comics fail even harder than this? And I was like,
that is harsh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was just like, it's over. I'm never doing this again. But like, that really showed me, those first 3 reviews it was really nice, but they were really just sunshine up my butt. Like, they didn't really break it down the way that other article broke it down. And it was like, look at this panel, that this was bad. And I was like, they're right. At first I was like, pissed, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
But you
who's this person telling me what to do?
Exactly. But you take the personal aspect out of it, and I go, they're right. They're absolutely right. And you just fix it, but you're not going to be able to fix it if you don't show anyone. Britton wants to let you know it's pronounced Gaiman. Neil Gaiman. And I knew you were going to say that, Britton. I knew if you were watching that you were going to put that in the chat.
I'm glad you corrected me. I will never mispronounce it again.
Got a question for you from the chat. It's from Christopher. He says, say ... your Kickstarter is successful and you get your comic printed. How do you get it distributed to a comic shop? Have you ever done this?
So gone this route? Yeah, no, I have not gone that route. And the reason why I haven't done it is that I tend to pick my battles. And for me, where I am in my career, where I am in terms of my audience, I don't think that's not really a hill I want to die on. Like, I would love to get my book out in shops, but I think at this point, it would make more sense to hook up with a publisher that already has that sort of distribution arm. It's
Okay,
really
it would kill you to do it personally.
yeah, I mean, Diamond is, you know, like they really all they care about is Marvel, DC, and Image, and like maybe they'll order a few books from other publishers, and but probably not like you know you whoever you are. I'm not you know the generic you, but if you're just like a person with a comic book. They're probably not going to order the book, or if they do, they're not going to order that many copies. So and they're not going to pay you much money for it. So, because, you know, like whatever the cover price is, they're only going to pay you like half of that or something. And then you still got to ship it out to them. Like I know people that have lost money on that deal. So, which, you know, if you can afford, you know, that's in retail, right? They call that a loss leader, where you're okay losing money on something just to get the word out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can afford to do that, that's great. But for most like Joe and Jane indie comic person, you don't have the money, right? Because you've paid an artist, you've paid a letterer, you've paid a colorist, maybe
You're already
an
down in
editor.
the hole enough.
You're already so far down in the hole that you can't afford to have a loss leader.
But
and so
yeah, one thing though that you said earlier, which is the beauty of the internet, is the fact that with Kickstarter and Indiegogo this is like a unique platform where you can charge a premium price. This is like now is the time to go get Red Xmas. Yeah. Now is the time. You're not going to be able to get it in comic book shops. Now is the time. And because it has that sense of like, this is it, you can then charge those premium prices and make money with your comic books.
Yes, and that's actually exactly where I was going with this. And I have that on a frequently asked question because I see people talking about this all the time. And I so disagree with the mindset that it's like, I go into a comic shop, I pay $4 for a book. Why would I pay more for that than that on Kickstarter? And the thing is that you're a backer on Kickstarter. You're not a buyer. Okay, they don't call them buyers. I don't have 116 buyers right now for Red Xmas. I have 116 backers. So when you're a backer, you're a producer. Okay, you're helping produce this thing. And so literally without your support, we can't make the comic. So like for Fried, what I tell people is, if you give us $1, I'll credit you in the book as a producer, right? Because you did help produce this thing. So you really are buying into an experience. So again, we're not selling you just a book, right? We're selling you an experience. We're selling you the chance to help make this comic come to life. And if that's something that you're passionate about, you're happy to pay those premium prices. Like I can't compete on price because I do very limited print runs, right? Right now I can't do a massive print run and have 1,000 or 5,000 books sitting in my garage. It's just not practical for me. So I do very small print runs. Because of that, my costs for printing are very high. And I also, because I know the experience is very important, like, I don't know about you, but I've gotten so many Kickstarter books that get sent to me in the mail, like in a flimsy envelope that, maybe says do not bend on it, but it's totally bent and mangled. And I pull it out and I've paid like a premium price, but I've got something that I'm like, what do I do with this now? This is destroyed. So for me, like, we bag and board everything. I use Gemini comic book mailers, which are very sturdy. It requires some tape, some extra time, some folding. I spend days putting these packages together. Frida also sends you a certificate of authenticity, which she signs and kisses.
That's awesome.
Writes you a little note. And, we usually have prints and other kind of fun things. So even physically, you're not just getting a book, you're getting a lot of extras too. And it was nice. I saw somebody on Facebook actually just yesterday who gave a shout out. They had gotten Refried recently, which was our last campaign. And, this was somebody who Kickstarts, is Jeff Weber. He has a fun book called The Scientists. Yeah. And he was like, I've after getting, he said White Ash and Five from Beyond and Refried Comics, he was like, I really see the difference in what a nice packaging experience is. And I really honestly believe that is a difference, and that is why indie creators who go that extra mile can charge those premium prices, because you're delivering a premium experience that you can't get at a comic shop.
No, for sure, for sure. I agree. And one big thing I'm scared about is my packaging right now. Is I gotta package these things.
Yeah.
But I think my hand skills, my artistry skills, I've got like a crap ton of cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna like create my own gym.
You can do it, man.
Yeah. Got some questions for you.
Sure.
This is from Hoven Crow Media. I've never seen you on the chat before, and I'm really grateful to have you watching the show. Thanks for being here. Hoven Crow Media asks, what's your main reason for using Kickstarter over Indiegogo?
Main reason for using Kickstarter over Indiegogo is, well, for one thing, I like the idea of all or nothing, which I think Indiegogo has started now. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you can do an all or nothing, or you can do the flex.
Got it. So back when I started using Kickstarter, that wasn't an option. So I liked the all or nothingness of it. The other thing is I think that in like generally speaking, I think Kickstarter has more users. So I think there are more people that actively go to Kickstarter looking for projects to back that aren't necessarily like coming from my audience. However, I mean, having said that, I have nothing against Indiegogo, and I would love to try going to Indiegogo and trying something there just to do something different. But back when I started doing Kickstarters, like Kickstarter was the place to be. I think Indiegogo is kind of coming up a little bit more now. So at this point, it's kind of just habit. Like, it's just sort of what I do. That's where I consistently show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd totally try an Indiegogo.
Yeah. So the reason I'm doing Indiegogo for my next one is just, I like the aspect of that it can turn into a store afterwards.
Yeah.
So I like that, but also I feel like I see a lot of like comic book activity there. People are buying a lot of indie comics there. But I do agree with you on Kickstarter that there are people who are like, let's see what Kickstarters are out this week, because that's their thing, is they just love backing things and being part of it.
Yeah.
And I also I did this one Kickstarter first, though, is I really liked that sense of, and I'd still do it on the Indiegogo, it's all or nothing, because it's, I don't want to say it's a cop out, but you know what I mean. It's like, well, like, we didn't really get funded, so, but we're still going to get to you. It's like, no, guy, you need that sense of urgency. Like, guys, I need your help to make this happen.
I think that what you said about urgency, that is so key. And yeah, as soon as you remove the all or nothing aspect of it, you remove that sense of urgency, because now suddenly, well, it doesn't really matter if I pledge, because if you don't make your goal, you still get the money. So like, maybe I won't back this time.
And that's why that last week is so big, is because people are like, they're like, oh, the crap, I got to get it. Like, I was surprised the last day I got like 10 new backers, and I was like, oh, where have you guys been waiting for you guys, because and I'll be honest, I've done that with campaigns too, where I've waited the last day, because it's that sense of, you see them post 9 hours left and you're like, oh crap, okay, it's time. Like, I waited,
now it's time to jump in. Yeah, for sure. That's a huge motivator. Huge.
All right, I got another question for you from Christopher C, but also Hoven Crow Media asked the same question. Any thoughts on print-on-demand sites like Amazon or Etsy? And then also Hoven Crow Media asks, I also want to hear what the best suggestions are for printing companies.
Okay.
Have you ever used Amazon or Etsy? Etsy, by the way, guys, isn't a print-on-demand. It's
a store.
It's just a store.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, everyone.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not familiar with them as like a printer. Amazon, so they have Create Space. And I've never tried them. They have I think pretty inexpensive rates for print on demand, and so that has been tempting. I've heard a lot of people say, I want to be careful because I don't want to like you know, badmouth any companies, but like I've heard people say it's been kind of a frustrating experience.
I've heard the same thing as well, and it's like it was one of those like, oh, those prices are kind of enticing, and then you're like, you see that people were like, this was like the most frustrating, like it wasn't even worth it at that point.
Yeah, they'll reject your book for weird reasons, and then you've got to go like reformat everything, and like there's just a lot of back and forth, and I've seen people get really frustrated with it, and I think also they're inexpensive because they don't have a lot of overhead, and I think that's because they don't have like a whole lot of employees. So I don't like so there's a book that I'm waiting for that is the creators kind of disappeared off the map, and I know he was publishing with CreateSpace, and sort of like the last thing that the last communication that we had, he was like, yeah, it's a CreateSpace issue, I can't really follow up. And so I was like, you know what? I'll try to contact CreateSpace myself. And like I literally could find no way to contact them. And I think that's got to be frustrating if you're a creator and you want to find out what's going on with your book, but you can't contact anybody, you know?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. What other indie printers do you suggest? I always suggest to people like, you just want to see like one copy for yourself, go to Kablam. If you need at least 25, go to Comics Wellspring. If you want a little bit more and save maybe a little bit more money, go to Kraken Print. There's also Print Ninja. And then there's also just a bunch of like other like smaller like companies like in like different states who, they have like their own little printers that they do. I'm working with someone from Taiwan.
Okay.
If this dude can deliver the way that he's saying he can deliver, like I will definitely be recommending it to everyone, because the prices he gave me for my book, like my graphic novel per copy, blew my mind.
Is this like an offset print run, like a large print run, or is it?
No, he said
print on demand.
Print on demand.
Wow.
And
okay.
And I'm talking about like this, like maybe 2 cheeseburgers on a McDonald's.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm only gonna recommend him and say his name after he delivers and gets those results. I'm really hoping for it. I really am, because that could change, because I know it's like they're like a mom and pop store in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to grow their business. And if I can tell all my indie comics friends, hey guys, let's help them make money, and they're going to help us make money. That's what they're going to do. And also they're trying to set up a separate team of people in their little company, home company, where they will translate your book in Chinese.
Oh, wow.
And they'll try to get it into their stores.
That's awesome.
So it's a really big operation that, if it's something that I can see actually working, I'd love to share it with as many people.
I'm going to come back and try to get that name. But you're waiting for that trust. You're waiting for them to deliver before you recommend. So that's huge.
Exactly. Yeah. What
Kablam,
other printers though you think? Yeah,
well, I've printed with Kablam, and they're very responsive. They do great stuff. I've printed with I've gotten some samples from RA Comics Direct. I saw Matthew Rosenberg, I believe. I saw him on Twitter saying that's who he uses. So I actually had a little ash can for Refried printed up through RA Comics Direct, and it came out great. So I'd probably use them again. And for Refried, actually, I went to a local printer. I live in Georgia, in a town with the unfortunate name of Cumming, and I went to a local printer here to get some postcards made. Actually, when I was fulfilling the last Red Xmas campaign, like I said, I printed up postcards for Refried with the date so that I could slip that in the packages, send it out, so people got the packages, opened it up, and were like, "Oh, hey, I'll back that." So I went to a local printer, and I'd never used them before, and they did a fantastic job with these postcards, and the price was fantastic. And I was like, oh wow. And I said, you know, would you ever do like a comic book? And they said, yeah, sure. They were like, we can't do, I don't know why they said this, but they were like, we can't do perfect bound, right? Which is something with a spine.
Mhm.
But they were like, we can do saddle stitch, which is like a traditional, what
Yeah.
you'd call a floppy comic, right? And I was like, that's perfect. That's all I want. And they like, I mean, because it was a local printer, I was able to drive over to their place. They gave me a
Check it
tour.
out.
Yeah, they gave me a total tour. We sat down. We talked about the paper quality I wanted. They showed me samples. They printed up a you know a copy for me and a proof so that I could check it out, and it looked fantastic. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then they got back to me, and I was like, yeah, you know what, the price is a little bit more like for my budget, because I had budgeted it based on like RA Comics Direct, Kablam, you know, in that kind of neighborhood, and they were a little bit more. And I was like, you know what, unfortunately, like in this case, my budget is my budget, and I can't do that right now. And they totally came down. They matched the price, and they were like, you know, we just asked that going forward, you remember, like, hey, you know, this is what it really costs us to do this. But I would totally use them again. I thought they did a fantastic job with Refried. Those books look beautiful.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I also went with a local dude in like New Jersey. I don't know. I'm not gonna say where he's from because I don't know where he's from, and I don't want to like say like, oh, he's from Wisconsin. He's like watching this, like, I'm not from Wisconsin.
All right.
But you know, he gave me, you know, I've done graphic novels and floppies with Kablam. They turned out great. I did some floppies with Comics Wellspring. They gave it to me in 2 weeks. That was great. And the quality was good. And I just liked, you know, the local printer, and he was it was very responsive because it wasn't a company. It's just one dude. And I could just text him, be like, hey dude, how's it going? He goes, hey, take a picture. Here it is.
Yeah.
So guys, really just check it out. Like, guys, we live in the day and the age of Google. You can definitely, you know, you got to do your research for what you see fit. You know, like I said, Kablam, if you want like, you know, less than 25, go to Kablam. Comics Wellspring, you have to have at least 25 copies with them. And then Crack and Print, you have to have at least 50. But then there's also Print Ninja. And then you can always find like local stuff. Pete Marquez says, hey guys, sorry I'm late. Peter Samedi with Alterna is starting a partnership and printing program. It's on his website. It's for independent creators without a distributor. You piggyback at his printer. Have you heard of this, by the way?
I have, yeah.
Dude, it's the newsprint, and I went to my local comic book shop, picked up an Alterna book that had the newsprint, and I'm not gonna lie, I liked it. I kind of liked it. I none of my comics currently I think would go with the newsprint, right? But it's definitely something I'm like, you know what? Maybe I want to create a comic specifically for the newsprint. I don't know. What do you think about that? And it's super cheap. I hear it's like $800 printing, and then you get like $2,000.
I'm so looking forward to Peter going live with that. I don't think he's quite live with it. He's not yet. Yeah, I signed up to get notified when he goes live. I'm really looking forward to that because like I said, I am an old school guy. So for me, like, I much prefer newsprint to the glossy paper. I just think there's something about the newsprint that, like, it feels like a comic. It's
the experience.
Like a comic. It is the experience. Yeah, it's totally the experience. And it doesn't look right to comics. Don't look right to me on glossy paper. You know, I understand people like it, and I'm actually sorry, I'm getting like dinged a bunch on Discord, so I'm gonna close that.
Oh, no, you're good.
I don't know if you can hear that sound.
No, I can't. But okay. I agree. You know, I got into comics like only like in 2013, so pretty like not long ago, but I picked up Batman Year One, and it was like, it was on like, you know, the new format, you know, the glossy paper. But then I went to one of my friend's house, and he goes, dude, you can't read Batman Year One like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he pulls out like his like newsprint version with like the newsprint colors. And I was like, holy crap, this is way better. I don't know why it's way better because the story is the exact same, but just flipping through it, it made I don't know, more magical. I don't know.
Right. Oh, did my camera go off?
Yeah, but you're good. You're good though. You're
all right. I don't know what happened.
Your icon is on.
My icon is on. Yeah, that's me. That's my Fried Comics icon. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I don't know why my camera suddenly
Is it a
disappeared.
webcam?
No, I mean it's attached to my laptop.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that is. If you go to the Google settings, like at the above on the above, and there's like a little gear,
Yeah.
you can be able to fix your camera. It was your current camera off. I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, it's my FaceTime camera. I don't know. I don't know.
This is fine though.
Okay.
I got one more question for you, and then we'll probably end the show.
Sure.
I always, I always tell myself, guys, I want to keep this to be a 20 to 30 minute show. Guys, it's just not possible because it's just, I have a good time. And
I'm having a blast, man. So it's all good.
So here's the questions from Britain. He says, what are your influences? And I'm assuming like what are your influences when it comes to writing comics?
Yeah, so like for me, I am kind of old school. So like you mentioning Batman Year One, like that to me is the holy grail. Like that book is so fantastic, just from a writing standpoint and art standpoint. I think anybody that wants to learn how to write comics should absolutely read that. So guys like Frank Miller back in that day, Alan Moore. Was a huge influence on me. For Fried in particular, like our brand of humor, our brand of comics, we were very influenced by Preacher. So my co-writer on all the books is Alexander O'Philippe, and he's an old friend of mine from college. We went to NYU together. And he's now a documentary director. In fact, he announced this today, so I can say this. His new documentary is going to premiere at Sundance, and it's on Alien, the movie Alien. You might have known he did a movie a few years ago called The People versus George Lucas. That did very well, and then he had one about Psycho last year called 7852. But anyway, Alexander and I bonded in college over Preacher, and I dragged him to Midtown Comics and made him buy Preacher, and anyway, we just bonded over it. So I think that sort of sense of humor is for sure my sense of humor. That's just sort of sick, twisted thing. So I'm like I go back to my childhood, and I was big into Roald Dahl and Shel Silverstein and kind of all those sort of slightly twisted takes on everything. So yeah, my influences are probably maybe more old school than new school.
No, for sure, for sure. I was supposed to be the last question, but guys, I just love hitting the chat. You got time?
Yeah, man, go for it.
All right, so now we're just talking about comics. What's your take on this? This is from Britain again. Controversial opinion: Year One's better than The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, not controversial at all. It's so much better.
Okay.
I think Year One is way better than Dark Knight Returns. I've read Dark Knight Returns. Like I read it when it came out. I enjoyed it because it was the big popular book. But I have never, ever, ever wanted to revisit it. And I bought Year One when it came out on the stands. I have the newsprint editions that are like falling apart because I read them so many times as a kid. And I've got I do have my hardcover now that I read. But I read that all the time. Yeah, I think it's way better. I don't think that's a controversial opinion at all.
I agree because I really enjoy reading Year One, and with Dark Knight Returns, I just get this come on, let's just keep going. Another one, this from Nathaniel Gold. Nathaniel, tell me in the chat, when am I getting my book? I'm super pumped for it. It's Year One or Born Again, same team, but which is better?
Ooh, okay, so that is a tough call. Born Again is fantastic. I'm still going to come down on the side of Year One, only because I was more of a DC guy growing up. Batman is my all-time favorite superhero. So I'm gonna have to go with year one. And I also think, like, how long was Born Again? Was that 12 issues?
It
That was
was
like a
long.
long. It was long, right? Yeah. What I really appreciate about year one is that they packed so much story into 4 issues. It was only 4 issues. They told so much story. So I really appreciate that economy of storytelling. So yeah, I'm going Batman.
Yeah, if you can tell, like, I say that all the time, like, creators you don't need to create. If you can tell your 24 issue story or 12 issue story in 4 issues, tell it in 4 issues.
Do it.
The readers will really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
How many issues is I mean, I know you have okay, that was a dumb question because Red Xmas is going to be a yearly thing.
Well, it's not a dumb question though, because originally we planned it out for 5 issues, and we thought so. It was originally a screenplay that we wrote back in like '99 or 2000. Alex talked me into pitching this idea to something that NYU put out back then called the Logline book, and you could pitch your screenplay, and you could they would send it out to agents and managers and production companies. And he was like, "Oh, Clay, you should, yeah, you have this idea, you should pitch it." And I was like, "Yeah, great." And he was like, but here's the thing: don't write the screenplay until somebody asks to read it." And I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." Well, it turns out it was terrible advice, because so many people wanted to read the screenplay, and I was like, "This screenplay doesn't exist." And so, like, now I had to pull the screenplay out of my ass. And I don't know if you've ever tried to write a screenplay, but it's not easy.
No, I have not.
And you can't do it quickly. It takes a lot of time. So he and I banged out this screenplay over a weekend. He was living in Denver at the time, and I flew out from New York to Denver over, like, it was like Memorial Day weekend or something. It was a 3-day weekend. And we literally, from like dawn till midnight, every day, just banged out this screenplay. And we came up with a horrible draft that we made slightly better. But anyway, this is all a long way of saying the story was written a long time ago, and the bones of the story were always good. It's just at that time we were not skilled enough writers to really pull it off. But when we decided to go back and translate it into a comic, we kind of plotted it out thinking it was going to be 5 issues, but then I sort of had the same epiphany we were just talking about, which is that, you know what, like, if we can tell this in 4, let's tell it in 4. But so now it's this storyline at least is going to be 4. But my other big epiphany now, after that last big epiphany, was that, hey, Christmas comes every year, and if we've got a successful book, I'd be stupid not to put one out, every year.
Oh yeah, for sure. A seasonal book, everyone's like, and that's a seasonal book like that. Something where people go, okay, like, it's time. I gotta get ready because Red Xmas is going to be coming out. No, for sure.
So there'll be more stories once this one wraps up.
Gotcha. Frank Miller or Alan Moore?
Frank Miller. I'm gonna go with Alan Moore. I mean, I love Frank Miller, but Alan Moore, I think, has been consistently genius for longer.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, like there's a weird thing with creators, whether you're a comic book writer or an artist or a musician. There's something about certain creators, and I think actually most creators, where you kind of slip into self-parody at a certain point. I don't know what it is. People tend to burn bright for a period, and then for lack of a better word, kind of turn to self-parody. And like Alan Moore is really one of the few creative people I can think of who has not slipped into that.
I think his ego's too big. He's like, he'd never let himself like get into that. Because with like Frank Miller, like, I don't know, did you read the last Dark Knight, like the Master Race?
I didn't, no.
Oh, I was so angry that I committed to all 8 issues. Like at my comic book store, because every issue I was like, this is crap. Why am I still buying this book? Because I'm a completionist. But it just wasn't good. And then someone was, then I've read Dark Knight Return Strikes Again,
Strikes Again. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, this is garbage. And I look at that art and like the writing, I'm like, how did this even get passed?
Well, yeah, and like, and I'm not, I want to clarify, like, I'm not trying to trash Frank Miller. Like, I'm, all I'm saying is that, there, it's
He
very,
shined at one point, like really shined.
he really shined, and like, like I'm totally off the beaten path reference or like whatever we're talking about, but like I'm thinking of David Lee Roth from Van Halen. Like there's a guy that was like, he was the biggest rock star on the planet for a period of time, and then like at a certain point, like what happened to him. And so like again, like I'm not trying to knock Frank Miller. It's just that like it's so hard to be that consistently genius for so long. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say in my like overtired state. Like I think that we should all be so lucky to burn that bright for even a short period of time, right? And guys like Frank Miller and a lot of these other guys, they shone, for maybe longer than a lot of people do. But for me, like Alan Moore is just in a totally different category. He's just been that good, that genius for so long. I don't know how he does it.
It's like you either die here or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You can only, these creators, they can only shine for so much, and then they're just like, obviously they're money grabs. So when the company is like, yo, you got another story, they're like, they go, we'll pay you this much. They go, yeah, I can get another story, I guess. But like when those guys are shining bright, like that was when they were hitting off all the best things that they could have done in their career. It probably would have been best for them to have just stepped away at that point.
Yeah, but I totally get that point of view, but I feel like if you're a creator, you can never really stop. You can't stop, right? And it makes sense for the publishers to hope to capture that lightning in a bottle again. Hey, maybe this creator who did something for us many years ago can strike, like maybe lightning will strike again. You never know.
For sure. Hey, so Britton really wants you to add him either on social media. Britton, if you go on my Twitter, I retweeted Clay's tweet, so you can add him and follow him on Twitter, because I guess you are just resonating with him with all your answers.
Very cool. Yeah. Give me a follow. I'll follow you back for sure.
Boom. All right, guys, everyone. In the description down below, go check out Red Xmas 1 to 3, a horror comedy Christmas comic for adults. You just got a backer, by the way.
Oh,
I literally just watched it live.
Nice.
I was like watching the money go up, and I was like, what's happening?
That's a nice new feature. I like that.
No, it's cool. So guys, go check out this comic. It's really fun. Watch the video. And just remember, this is an experience. This is Fried Comics. You're gonna get your book. Freaking Frida is gonna deliver it. She's gonna ask, was it good? And hopefully you like it. And I hope you guys learned stuff. You learned stuff from today. I know I did. Kick everyone with freaking in indie comics. It's really all about that journey. You can't rush anything. You really can't rush anything. Take your time. If you're 3 months into it, give yourself a year. I tell people, like, guys, I've been doing this for 4 years. I'm not even I'm still in the first inning of the game. I'm still in the first inning. So Clay, thanks so much. I got one last question I want to ask you. This is from me, and then we'll end it. Clay, for someone who is wanting to get into comics, as in start being a creator, or maybe someone who has been creating and is kind of disgruntled, what's the biggest advice that you could give someone in creating comics?
Just do it. Just do it. Like I kind of like I was saying before, I used to write things and just stick it in a drawer and never get it produced. But you're never going to get better that way. So if it's something that you want to do, go make something terrible. Be terrible. Be terrible and let people see it. And they'll tell you that it's terrible, but hopefully if they're kind and you find a mentor, they will help you see what's good in it and that what you can improve, and they can direct you down the right path. I mean, and that's really the thing, is that there are people out there. There is a generosity of spirit in the creative arts. It's not all cutthroat, and comics in particular is a very welcoming community. There are going to be people out there that will tell you, you know, hey, come here, son. Let me take you under my wing, and I'll tell you everything I know about the business, and I'll tell you how you can improve. And you're never going to find that if you don't produce, if you don't make something and let people see it. So if you're just starting out, just whatever that thing is, man, just like Nike says, just do it.
Boom, guys, that's a perfect way to end the show. Everyone, thanks so much who were watching. If you are, you know, watching it not live, still do the following: smash that like button, comment down below, let us know what you think. Check out the Kickstarter, link in the description, and as always, please subscribe. According to the Social Blade, I'm not going to get to 1,000 followers until like the end of next year, and I want to prove I'm wrong. So smash that subscribe button. And everyone, thanks so much for watching. Clay, thanks so much for being on the show.
Tyler, thanks for having me, man. It was a blast.
Boom.